Hello and welcome to Thunder Pirate. In this, the 5th episode of War Thunder Reviews, I'll be talking about the Italian-made Fiat CR.42 biplane, otherwise known as the Falco, Italian for Falcon. This sesquiplane fighter made its first flight in May 1938 and made a great impression on the Regia Aeronautica, the Italian Air Force, which had used its predecessor, the CR.32, in the Spanish Civil War. As a result, the Falco was put into production in 1939, despite the competition being considered more advanced, with a higher top speed, but the Falco demonstrated greater manoeuvrability, and was still able to reach a top speed of 438 km an hour at 500 metres and just under 350 km an hour near sea level, thanks to the supercharged Fiat A74 R1C.38 air-cooled radial engine that made the heart of the aircraft and produced 637 horsepower. The aircraft's armament originally consisted of a single heavy 12.7mm machine gun, accompanied by a 7.7mm machine gun, but the 7.7mm was later replaced with another 12.7mm machine gun in the CR.42 bis, which became the standard configuration seen in War Thunder. Later modifications allowed the addition of two extra 12.7mm machine guns. Underwing gun blisters served this purpose, and bomb racks were another addition. But while the aircraft was capable of ground attack, it did not excel in this role. The Falco was also modified for night operations, with spotlights under the wings and extended exhaust pipes to hide the exhaust flames. These are also modifications I think would be great additions to War Thunder. Similar modifications were also made for those aircraft obtained by the Luftwaffe in 1943, and these aircraft would also be fitted out for bombing purposes, as by this time the aircraft was well and truly outdated, sort of like a Nokia brick phone versus a new iPhone. Even a floatplane variant of the Falco was produced, and despite the notable increase in weight and drag, very little of the top speed was lost. The aircraft featured rigidly braced wings, which were constructed from a combination of duralumin alloy and steel, and covered with fabric. The sesquiplane design meant the lower wings were just under half the size of the upper, reducing drag, while further contributing to the strength of the aircraft. Low wing loading gave the aircraft excellent manoeuvrability, even at high speeds. Falcos, or Falchi as they are known in Italian, were well-designed aircraft, and upon the addition of air filters, the little Fiat became reliable as well. Good thing they weren't built by Lancia. During combat operations, the Falco was noted to have incredible durability, and when fighting against advanced British monoplanes, it was noted the aircraft was capable of soaking up large numbers of rounds without suffering critical damage. One Italian pilot reportedly noted that his parachute pack had been able to stop a bullet from the underpowered English guns, saving his life. Self-sealing fuel tanks were also a feature of this design, but the aircraft was nonetheless vulnerable to heavier weapons and anti-aircraft fire. Despite the rising popularity of monoplane designs in the late 1930s, the CR.42 was successfully sold to several foreign countries, including the Royal Hungarian Air Force, Belgian Air Force, and even the Swedish Air Force, whose aircraft were modified and designated J-11. The aircraft would also later serve under the Luftwaffe after the Italian armistice. Despite being an outdated design, the Falco proved to be quite successful in many conflicts around Europe and Africa, and despite fighting regularly against the famous Soviet I-16, the Hungarian Air Force achieved an astonishing 12-to-1 kill-to-loss ratio, with many of the losses being to accidents and Allied bombing of airfields in 1944, after the aircraft was relegated to training roles. While the aircraft performed well against the more technically advanced British Gloucester Gladiator in northern Africa, and proved devastating to the Royal Hellenic Air Force during the Greco-Italian War, Falco pilots ultimately suffered in colder climates due to the open cockpit, and this resulted in heavy losses once Gloucester Gladiators joined the fight over the cold November skies of Greece. At that time, many pilots, fresh from flying schools, were joining Italian squadrons, and it was those pilots who suffered many of the losses, as they were eager to dogfight the more manoeuvrable British planes and lacked the experience of seasoned pilots. It was in the hands of skilled pilots that the Falco became a deadly war machine, and despite scoring no kills against Allied aircraft during the Battle of Britain, the little biplane impressed many British pilots when it briefly fought the latest Spitfires and Hurricanes during the conflict. It was able to evade the Allied planes in almost every encounter, using superior manoeuvrability to rapidly get behind the British aircraft, where only their speed and firepower let them down. Speaking of speed, the fastest CR.42 ever built used a 1,200 horsepower Daimler-Benz DB601A engine and reached a top speed of 525 km an hour. Sadly, this aircraft never entered production, but to put it into perspective, this single aircraft had around twice the power output of the original Falco, and gained an extra 100 km an hour, making it blindingly fast for a biplane. Ultimately, the CR.42 demonstrated that, in an era where monoplanes ruled the skies, biplanes still had more to give, and that it was still possible to push the performance of seemingly outdated designs to become competitive with even some of the most advanced piston aircraft of the time. Most impressive of all is that it is the CR.42 which claimed the last known biplane kill in history. On the 8th of February 1945, a pilot of the Zweite Staffel Nachschlagsgruppe 7, or the Night Fighter Group 7 2nd Squadron, claimed a kill against one of two American P-38 Lightning fighters which had attacked his squadron. The Lightnings were some of the most advanced and powerful piston-powered heavy fighters in service at the time. In the end, it seems a fitting irony that only 5 years after the CR.42 entered service, the first operational jet fighter would take to the skies in the form of the Messerschmitt 262. For me, the Fiat CR.42 represents how a good technology, surpassed by a seemingly superior method, can still be stretched beyond its limits. It was the end of an era. Oh, and if you're still wondering how it performs in War Thunder, then the answer is about as well as in real life, though I'm still very keen to see some of the other versions of this aircraft added, especially those with the two extra 12.7mm machine guns. Anyway, that's it from me, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of War Thunder Reviews.